Hello, everyone out there in podcast world. I hope you're having a wonderful day. You're listening to or watching the Service Business Mastery podcast. I'm your host, Tersh Blissett, with my co-host virtually, Joshua Crouch, sitting next to me. I'm excited to talk to Keith today. We have Keith Flores, the HVAC god, on the show today. He is definitely the best dressed guy in HVAC. So
I don't
I
know
can,
about that. Maybe
bro.
you guys can go hand in hand and do a little combat there.
Nah, he definitely he's got me 100%. And if you're on Instagram, I mean, he made a huge splash a couple years back, and really was helping out make the HVAC trade and industry really well known. And kudos to Keith for that. And he like, man, it was awesome watching him just come on the scene and everything. And I'm not like, I don't have a huge massive following on Instagram. I typically troll Instagram, not necessarily in a bad way. I just like, I guess the creeper. I just like check out people's stuff, comment on their stuff, and then that's about it. Like, I don't post like I should, you know, on Instagram. But today we're going to talk about a little bit about hiring during, like, how the industry is changing in general, but then hiring during that disruption of the industry and how things are changing up. Um, Keith is the CEO of oh man,
Sifley?
Sifley Holdings. Man, I
I'm
didn't even
assuming that's how
ask.
you
I
say
didn't
that.
ask Keith beforehand. I
He's
apologize for
laughing
that.
at us in the background, so we probably said it wrong.
Yeah. Oh, and HVAC God Inc. And has HG Home Services, which is his service company. He's an accomplished entrepreneur with super critical thinking. He's a super critical thinker and has amazing leadership skills. He's got over 30 years of operational skill, sales and marketing achievements in the HVAC industry.
I don't even think he looks old enough to have that much experience.
Right. I mean, he started young.
He looks way younger than I am.
Right. But he's just passionate. He's a passionate, committed leader. You can tell that by just watching his Instagram and all of his social media. And so, yeah, I'm super excited to talk to Keith today. And Josh, you got anything to add?
No, I remember following Keith. I know when he was doing a lot of the like the social media stuff was everywhere. And this was back when I was on the contractor side, and I always followed the stuff that he was doing, kind of from a distance, right? But it was very interesting seeing someone that was going kind of full on with the social media stuff, because HVAC isn't cool until you make it cool, and he did a really good job of kind of promoting that. And I've seen some of the videos and stuff that they used to do, and it was really, really cool stuff. So excited to talk to him and get a little deeper and just learn from him today.
I think one of my favorite things about Keith and how he's approached things is you don't have to look like a grungy tradesman. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh yeah, that's my guy. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to talk to Keith today.
Are you looking for valuable business advice to reach that 7-figure revenue mark? Do you want actionable tips to properly navigate through every business challenge you encounter along the way? Let Tersh Blissett and Josh Crouch be your guide in getting you to the top here at Service Business Mastery. Tune in as they sit down with world-renowned authors in business, leadership, and personal growth who share valuable insights about management, marketing, pricing, human resources, and so much more. Let their nuggets of wisdom gold guide you in owning a thriving, profitable, and ever-growing business. Here are your hosts, Tersh and Josh.
Hey, Keith, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Keith.
Yeah, so it's Sci-Fi Holdings.
Sci-Fi Holdings.
I figured we screwed it up.
I had to laugh. It's because I felt like it.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, nice. I like that.
My business partner set that up, and I love it. I think it's cool.
That's really cool, man. So tell us a little bit about yourself for people who don't know who you are, kind of your background and all that good jazz.
The good, the bad, the ugly. I started off when I was, a quick story, 12 years old in the trade. My brother-in-law had me go do a side job with him. He said, "Do you want to make some money?" I said, "Yeah, I got nothing to do. I'm riding my BMX, you know." And so I went to this house. I know the guy's name and everything to this day. Crawled underneath this house, and my brother-in-law said, "Just rip out all that stuff under there." So I just started ripping out stuff, and I hear him up top smoking a joint, laughing with this guy, and I'm like, "What the heck?" I get out. He shows me how to do a couple ducks. It was a small duck system. I crawl back under. By the end of the day, I was done. He said, "Come by the house. Come by the house tomorrow, and I'll pay you." And I was like, "All right." Rode my bike over to his house the next day, and he gave me $200 out of his freezer. He pulls out a stack of cash out of his freezer and gives me $200. I'm 12 years old, maybe 12 and a half, and I was hooked after that.
That's good money. Hell, that's good money today.
Yeah, anytime you have anything for me, let me go. And after that, I was just hooked. I love the money. So fast forward, I went to work for him, which was a family business. And then I left the family business and got in because that was strictly new construction, and left the family business, which we had about 300 employees or so. We were big.
Wow.
Everybody said you can't make money in the industry. My family was just like, there's no money in this industry. This is what you're going to top out at, and blah, blah, blah. And I had a guy over in my ear, a guy by the name of Lou Snavely. He was with Dial One Service Experts. Kept on telling me, "I'll give you a $10,000 sign-on bonus. I'll do this, I'll do that, and you're going to make over, $150,000 a year being an installer." I'm going,
whoa.
So finally, I took the meeting, and I never looked back. I just, the first couple of days, I started making, just ridiculous amounts of money, and I was just like, "Wait, what? This doesn't make any sense." And
How old do you think you were at that point?
19.
Okay.
Bought my first house when I was 19.
Yeah.
I took that $10,000 and dropped it on a down payment. And of course, houses are much more expensive nowadays. $10,000 wouldn't be a down payment.
$10,000 isn't going to buy you much of even a room.
No, not at all. So after that, I worked for him for a lot of years. He taught me the ropes of basically the service out, sales, like just getting out of my comfort zone. Great guy. From there, he left after we got bought, and he started another company with Airtime.
Okay.
And I went to work with him there, helped him start. He called me like a general manager, but not really a general manager because he really wasn't showing me the back end stuff. Great guy. I can't say enough about him. But so then I decided to start my own business and built it up. I was 28, got rid of it at 32, and then went to work for one of the big boys. The people that gobbled me up was Clockworks Home Services.
Oh, okay.
And so went to work for them, ran that business for a while. Had a great time. Those were my college years. Learned a lot. And then I just wanted to do something more. I wanted to get out of the everyday.
Yeah.
And got into consulting, whatever you want to call it. Helped out a lot of companies, bought a couple other companies 50% of, and took them from, whether it was one company, we took a new construction company from 6 million to 14 million in a year because we added on service, retrofit. And then another company I took on, we were doing about 200,000 a year and built it up to about 10, 11 million a year within 2 years.
Whoa.
And,
can I ask you about
Yeah.
that? Okay. So do you feel like that is geographically relevant to be able to scale like that? I mean, do you feel like there needs to be a certain amount of residents in an area for you to be able to grow like that?
I feel it's guys just letting them drop.
What do you mean by
letting
that?
them drop, letting your balls go? Sorry, man, just letting them go, just dropping them out there and saying, let's do it. Like, if you can't do that,
yeah,
and there's a lot of big players in my neighborhood. You know them all. I'm not going to mention their names, but there's a lot of big players in my neighborhood. those guys all just went for it, right?
Yeah.
And for me, right now, what I'm doing, I'm not really going for it. I'm trying to do some other stuff, but my biggest thing is like, you got to be willing to, take the risk, take the challenge. I see a lot of, 2-3 man guys, and they come to me. I got guys in here, usually at least 2 different companies a week will stop by my office because I'm open book. I'm like, hey, stop by anytime. Your first hour or two, we'll shoot the shit. And after that, then it's going to get expensive for you. But the one thing I always get out of them is I just don't have the money. I just don't want to. I don't want to take that leap. I don't want to make that sacrifice. I'm like, well, then stay where you're at. But and it's not always awesome to be the biggest, baddest guy on the planet.
Right. For me, I feel like there's a point. Sometimes I feel like this way, anyways. Heck, over the past year, I know I've felt this. And it's like, all right, so we're growing, but I'm personally not making more money, but I'm getting a lot more stress. So at some point, should I just stop where I'm growing at and then just keep making that same amount of money? I know that there's
walls
typically. Yeah, exactly. And it comes and goes for sure, especially if you're focused on different things. Like for us, it's like we focus, like Josh and I have focused a lot on the podcast over the past 6 months or so, and so that has taken away from my service companies, and I know that, I recognize that, and so when things like hit the fan, it's like, okay, it's my fault. I should have focused in that area, and so Josh and I've talked about this before. I've been bad in the past about delegation by abdication. Just be like, okay, go ahead and do it. Like, you go do this. That's your job. You do it and you take care of it, and just check in me every now and then. And I didn't have those KPIs that I necessarily would watch every single morning. And even if I did have the KPIs, sometimes I didn't know what the hell they meant. Like, it's like, all right, cool. Like, this is amazing. I got these reports spitting out to me automatically.
Somebody told me that number's good, so I'm good, right?
Yeah. And then as soon as that number's not right, it's like, all right, shit, I don't know what to do to make the number right now,
Well, it's one of those things that, whoever came up with all these KPIs, it was probably in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, things have changed.
Business has changed, guys. And I tell people this all the time. I'm always evolving. That's one thing that I've learned over the years is take the good, the bad, and be willing to change. Get out of your comfort zone. I always say this quote, there's no growth in your comfort zone. I stole it from
seen that yesterday.
Jocko Willings. It's one of those things that everybody looks, and I hear so many big wigs, big dogs in our industry. I pay attention to the KPIs, pay attention to this, pay attention. I don't believe in all that, man. I really don't. Like, people thought I was nuts when, COVID hit and I went all in on social media. COVID hit, we were getting 3 to 5 million views a month on social media. And I hired a content creator. He had a whole team. We crushed it. We were killing it every day. And I was spending a fortune, and I stopped all my other advertising. I just went all in on social media, and we grew the business very fast. Everybody else was, cutting back. I'm over here just going wild with it. And I really feel like you can't. So that right there, you cannot measure your
True.
social media content, what it's producing you for revenue, right?
Yeah, Josh and we've talked about this before. It's like, how do you measure that KPI? And not only that, most of the platforms out there are not accurate whenever they say, oh, you got this many impressions and this, and they're not consistent either. It's like
people
one
think
platform,
you just put a different tracking number on it or something. It's not that simple. Like, you can't pinpoint to a certain video or a certain post, or it's a collaboration of everything that you've developed that continues to grow over time, which is all in that branding area.
It's a brand
of marketing. Yeah.
It's 100% a brand play. And what I started figuring out is, for me, You know, I don't know if you guys know this, how many people we're going to lose in our trades over the next 4 to 5 years.
It's a lot. I know that.
It's between 250 to 500,000.
Yeah, I believe it because
What are we going to do?
in 2017 or early 2018, I did some deep diving research, and it took me surprisingly a lot longer than what it should have to locate this number. But the average age of a plumber was 65 at that time. Like that's blows my mind that the average plumber was 65 years old in 2018.
Do you know why though, right?
I mean, there's a lot of things people
The number
want to
one,
go to.
the number one thing is, as a plumber, it's blue collar, right?
Oh yeah,
HVAC tradesman is blue collar. And then back in the day, our dads did not want us to get into this blue collar trade, right?
Nope.
No.
They wanted us to go to college. They wanted us to go, they didn't want us. So that we lost a generation. So now what I am really hyper focused in on is how do we make it sexy? How do we make the trade sexy enough to get people to come back into our trades?
Mhm.
I go and I talk at colleges, great universities. I was just at one recently. I go and talk to high schools, trade schools. I just talk to anybody out on the streets even. I mean, I had a guy last night DM me and say, how do I get in the industry? I said, where are you located? He goes, Rolling Heights. I said, that's probably 30 minutes from my house. Come on over. We'll have a conversation. So he's coming over actually Monday to my office, and we're going to have a conversation about how to get into the trades. People, you said at the beginning, about how I dress. People look at me and go, dude,
Same.
come on. You're an HVAC guy. And I said, yeah, I'm a 10 knocker. You want me to bust out a squirt around right now? I can make a squirt around.
Right.
Like, you want me to go and install an upflow system? No problem. You want me to crawl in that? I went out to a service call last night. I walk up to the front door. The guy goes, fuck, you're going to be expensive. And I just laughed. I was like, hey, it depends what you think expensive is.
Yeah.
And then he'd say, come on in. Walked away, got the job. Like, it doesn't matter how you dress. I feel like everybody in our industry should dress the part. Everybody in our industry should feel good, look good. If you don't like wearing a suit, don't wear a suit. But
Yeah,
you
exactly.
should always, like, all my techs, I went above and beyond. All my techs wear Carhartt from Centos. It's their wow factor. They
Mhm.
just came out with a whole Carhartt line that has Carhartt pants, Carhartt shirts. I'm spending a lot more on their uniforms, but I want them to be excited and happy for what they're wearing. And then our vehicles are all brand new. I didn't want to go with and I'm not going to name names, but the big splashy logos and colorful
Sure.
logos. I wanted something that when I was a tech, what did I want?
So
And I always
have
thought
you
I was the cool guy.
Yeah, no, I've loved the brands that you've represented over the past several years. I will tell you that like hardcore, every one of my vehicles are satin black, and they have a satin black. Well, my trucks and my wife's vehicles are all either painted or wrapped in satin black, and have been since I was 16. Like that was my thing. I mean, I've always loved this, and it stands out for sure too. Um, how do you think that has affected, or do you think it has affected you in a negative way by not having the super flashy brand that's very popular currently?
I don't think it's affected me in any way other than it's promoted me more for employees. Employees want to drive something cool. When I was a
Yeah.
young cat getting in the industry, I wanted that cool foreman's truck, I didn't want the big logos all over the sides. I didn't want all that stuff. So for recruiting, I feel like it's really good because we didn't remember the big yellow vans that were everywhere all over the
Oh
nation.
yeah.
Who
Mhm.
the hell wanted to drive those? I remember most of the techs out of Vegas would put car covers over them because they didn't want them in their neighborhoods.
Oh, that's a good
So
point.
that's
Yeah.
I believe that.
so I mean, and you see a lot of these big flashy logos, and you got kids on the sides of trucks. You got bumblebees and all this other stuff all over the truck. They're cool. They catch people's eye. I do zero advertising. I don't know no marketing, and I'm growing my business Over the next 2 years, I'll, more than 10x it.
Mm.
So with no advertising, I'm still not doing advertising.
So how are you getting leads coming in?
That's the secret sauce.
I know, because we do advertise, and there's times when I'm like, oh man, we need to get the phones to ring,
That's the secret sauce. That's not anything I'm launching anytime soon, but I network. So personally, I will go out and network with whoever's the biggest in our community in business and make sure I talk with them once a week.
Like Chamber of Commerce type stuff?
No.
Okay.
Owners, just straight big business owners in the area. Whoever they are, I find out who they are, and I want them to know that I'm their service provider and tell their friends.
Now, do you ever give these people like a cheaper rate to get into with them, and then with the hopes that maybe they will say, hey, this is the guy that does my stuff, since they have such a large network?
I give them my friendship.
Okay.
I'm not big on discounting, which everybody says, but we all discount. Like, I don't give a shit who you are. You all discount. Like, stop the lies. Like, I hear everybody up on stage going, we don't discount. We don't. Come on, man.
Okey-dokey.
So, but what I do is like, I'll give them like a break or something like that. But most of the time, I just develop a relationship where we're going out to lunch, we're going out to dinner, breakfast, whatever. I invite them over to my office. So I have a good network. Like my partner, I'm not trying to name drop, but Oliver Brennickmeyer. The Brennickmeyer family is, I think, 7 generations of a European business that they own CNA, which is the largest clothing company in the world. And I've used his network to network me more. Like he was the head of Disney Pixar International Retail for a long time. So we've gotten to be able to.
So you got a network.
Yeah. Now I have a real network that's insane.
Yeah. What would you say to people who don't have that? Like, so I'm not from SoCal. I don't have that connection. Heck, just assume that I just moved in. I just moved to Savannah. I don't know a soul in this town, but I would go
meet the owner of Ace Hardware. Every one of those little Ace Hardwares, everybody knows. There's an owner. They're independently owned. I would just start meeting the bigger restaurants, meeting with the owners, talking with them. I just met with the coffee shop next door recently, and I met with the owner, and I said, hey, I'm going to do some giveaways. If I buy $1,000 worth of, Kit Coffee gift cards, will you give me, $1,500 worth or whatever it is? And no problem. Like, there's certain things that I'll kind of do and get out of my comfort zone. And my wife thinks I'm crazy all the time because I'm always the one that's just talking to everybody. I don't care who you are.
Dude, I have a buddy of mine, and I thought this was the wildest thing in the world until I went and visited his place. I'm not going to say where he's at because I haven't asked him about, if I could share this, but I will say that for years and years, he picked up the bar tab. Like, he'd go places, and at the end of the night, he'd pick up the bar tab, and his guy, like his right-hand man, was like, dude, this is nuts. Like, this is crazy. This is $5,000. Like, we're hanging out. But now all those, the bartenders and the bar backs, they own bars, and the bar owners at those locations, they all remember him. And so, like, he owns that town, because especially like the downtown area, because that's what he's done for years. And so he developed relationships with these people for years and years. And he took me out on the town, blew my mind. Like, we're in the penthouse of this skyscraper, and they had this store at the top of it. And he's like, yeah, man, this guy was I think he was a bartender or something. Now he owns this whole building. He actually owned the whole block. And I was like, dude, like, you just fell into it. Like, and he was like, man, it goes back to back in the day whenever I was just, I took care of everybody, and they all remember it.
Yeah, I network a lot. Just recently we did this guy that he owns a bunch of Taboo Shabus, and he just franchised. He's doing some out in Dallas. He's doing them all over.
What's that?
It's like where you cook your own like meats and stuff and boil it in water.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty good size. And I think he has 15, 16 locations. We did his house a month ago. We've already got probably 8 to 10 leads off of that one house because he's just telling everybody how great of a job we did.
Yeah, that wow service.
Yeah, and then we did this company called Optimum Salons. They're doing like, I think 42 this year, and we're doing all of them for him. But again, he has a big base of people, and I keep on getting, like, we had one, hey, we don't care about the price. We just want to get it installed on Saturday. Just come out. And we're like, wait till you see the price. Hold on.
Yeah.
But
have you ever done that and then just taken them on their word and they're like, oh shit, this is way too much. Like, I didn't expect it to be this much. I did that once, or actually a tech of mine did it, and I let it go through, and I was like, okay, you have you got your feelers, you felt them out, not me. I trust you. And then they're like, oh no, that's way too much. I'm like, damn it, man. Sign the estimate every time. Sign the estimate.
Yeah, and that's happened to me with techs. Yeah, for sure. One of the big things that I notice is, like, the building I'm sitting in right now. It's a Union Bank building, so we're on a corner where you can see all the cars going back and forth. We have a couple trucks in the parking lot during the weekends, and at night I have my name on the front of the building, so it's lit up. That's great advertising right there. So that's kind of advertising.
A lot of brand impressions.
Yeah, and I see my big competitors coming in, putting billboards all around my town, and I just laugh. I'm like, keep doing it, go. I pretty much already own this little area, and it's pretty amazing to me how fast it happened for me. But it goes back to customer service.
Oh yeah, no, I agree 100%. That they're going to remember you. The thing about it is the next time they need the service, or when someone's asking about it, when you're relying on that referral marketing, do they remember you? Did you make that much of an impression on them to where they remember, as an impression in the good way, anyways? Because if it's that bad that they remember you in a bad way, they're going to tell everyone not to use you. It'll go that way.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question. And I was thinking about it whenever you were talking earlier in introduction, and then someone actually asked it from the Facebook group. But what would you tell the 1 to 3 man shows that give you that, I ain't got no money, I don't have the cash flow? And especially, so what I think about when in this scenario was my first business that I started, we really bootstrapped it. I didn't have credit. Like, my credit was not great because I had just bought a house recently, just gotten married. A couple years before that, I had gone through a divorce and racked up credit cards and like was not responsible at all. And I knew that, and I took ownership of it. But going into that, like, I couldn't go get a line of credit because I had no history of ownership because we literally were just starting out our business. What do you like? Would you just like buckle down for a couple years till you get that history going, or you're shaking your head? I want to know.
No. So my first company, I went all in, and I was like, young cat, didn't understand the back end side of the industry. I just went and figured out who can I get loans from and started borrowing. Most companies, if it's a startup company, they're not going to give you a line of credit bank. I don't care what type of industry you have, right?
Yeah.
So there's these stupid hard money ones, which I had a group just do. They were able to pull out like $300,000, and what I explained to them is, hey, make sure you can cover that because that's coming out every week,
Yeah.
But spend the money right and you'll be able to do it. And I think it boils down to, you gotta just make the sacrifices. Maybe you're not going to go on a trip. Maybe you're not going to, whatever it is, if you're at you got to want it first off, and your wife has to want it too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
There's two people involved. You got to make sure that's involved. Then from there, you really have to figure out what's your next play. Reach out to somebody that's done it already. And what I mean by that is like, there's so many of us out there that have done it and figured out a way. I've never had to take, money, individuals' money. I've been able to self-fund. So I've always had to buckle down and go, all right, the next 6 months, we're not going to eat out every night, And that in those rural areas and those small markets, it's harder, right?
Yeah.
But like my first company when I was 28, the town was 800 people.
Okay.
The next town was 20 minutes away.
So
And we took a $0 to $4 million company in 2 years with no capital.
Yeah, that's wild. And how so can you go in with that mindset? Can that happen if your thought process is very technical and less sales? Because I have and I say that because the word sales is taboo sometimes in our industry.
I love the word sales.
I know. And if you are the type person where you're not a salesperson, you're not good at that, you more focus on fixing, making the systems last and all of that. Is it possible to do this by doing that, or do you have to sell system replacements? And also
you have to sell systems.
The pricing, like one of the things for me, like you can't bootstrap a company if you're pricing wrong. Like if you take a loan out and you're pricing wrong, you'll survive until you run out of money. Yeah. But if you're bootstrapping, if you're starting up with no cash, outside influence cash flow, you can't have the wrong prices. And I think that's a big deal in our industry. People starting up a business thinking, I only need to charge $45 an hour because I'm only paying myself $20 an hour. You know what I mean?
I think pricing's key. Like $189 an hour is probably about the bare minimum you want to charge, but you have to. So if you're a techie and you're just 100% tech, you're not going to get the check, right? You need to you need to get out there and figure out if you don't like sales, you need to understand sales then. And what I mean by that is everybody's selling, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody's selling. Whether you're at Chase Bank and they're trying to upsell you on, getting another savings account, or if you're at, I don't eat fast food, but I remember back in the day when I was kind of pudgy, I would go to fast food all the time, and they're in the drive-through going, "Hey,
you like fries with that?
Supersize." When you want to supersize that, they're selling you. You're selling your wife every night. "Hey, babe, come on, tonight's the night," right? Or she's selling you, "No, it's got a headache," So no matter what, there's always sales going on, and people don't understand that. No matter what you do in life, you're selling. If you're a college professor, you're selling those kids what you know.
That's a good point.
Right? Everything we do in life is sales. So all these
a lot of people that
it's a mindset.
They're selling without knowing that they're selling. And
100%.
A lot of times, like, we provide options. That's what we do. We are not hard closer, but we just provide options, and that's our sales process, is to provide those options to everybody and develop a relationship and learn exactly what it is that they want and need in their home, and then we provide the options to solve those problems that they have. And as long as you're being a problem solver, you've sold your time that is equivalent to the money. So
yeah, you don't have to be some crazy hardcore closer to understand sales. You do need closers, don't get me wrong, but you also need to explain to the customers and guide them down the path. I hear these rebuttal books and all this other BS that comes out, and all these guys that have these networks and can do this and they can do that. No, you got to be truthful and honest with your customers, and they'll buy from you. You got to build that relationship, that rapport back and forth, and show them, give them options. All my texts give 4 options. You got your basic option, your next option, your other option, then you have the option to do absolutely nothing.
Mhm.
And I want that put out there, that just pay the diagnostic fee. You can choose another company, because some customers we don't want either, right? But
Right.
you have to have a sales process in place. You know, you get some guru to come out to your shop for a day or two and train all your techs, and you got a spike for 2-3 days, and then all of a sudden it's gone. It's because they didn't believe in the whole process. So what every business owner needs to do is create their own process. I probably don't have it sitting next to me right now. Oh yeah, I have a process book. It's a whole process, and I'm a
Oh, that's
little
cool.
company. I give it to all my guys and say, here, this is what we do. And
Yeah.
it's not a closer's book. It's just, this is the process. You follow these, guess what? It's going to happen for you.
Yeah.
And we're not telling people to go break things. We're telling them to do what's right. Treat them like your grandmother's house, you know?
Exactly.
If
They
they
didn't
don't
call
need it,
you
they don't
out
need it.
there. They didn't call us out to just hang out with us. There was an
Yeah.
issue with their system, their comfort. Something was going on. That's the reason why they called us to come out and take a look at their system.
Yeah. And, you know, going back to your question, the 3-man, 2-man, 5-man shops, it's really boils down to, you know, figuring out what your 5-year strategy is. Start with 24 months and then go 60 months and figure out, where do you want to be? Are you looking to build it to sell it, or are you looking to build it to create a legacy? Right?
What would you say to some, like, even if you're not thinking about selling it, should you build it to sell it?
I've had so many people ask me that recently. It's because
That's because there's so much money coming in.
Yeah.
private equity is stupid in our market right now. Like,
yeah.
That's why.
These guys, God, I don't know how many guys I've talked to recently. Yeah, you should, but on the flip side, if you have a son that you want them to take over someday, or, you know, the industry has been so good to me. I've been I can't say it enough. The good, bad, or indifferent, that people either hate me or love me. If you get to know me, you're going to like me. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it is what it is. I try and give back as much as I can to the industry. And so when it comes to this question, it's very difficult, because I have a friend of mine who's a big business owner down here in Southern California, and he's been trying to sell his business because private equity came through. He's got 4 different offers on the table. He came to me and asked me if I wanted to buy it. We penciled it all out, and I said, Bud, I won't mention his name. I said, hey, Bud, your business to me is not worth what private equity is giving you, because
They're giving crazy money out right now.
You're trying to put $1 million in ad backs. Like,
Mhm.
it doesn't make any sense to me. But I went through his offers and I said, look, this is the offer I would take. But he has 2 sons. He didn't build his business to sell it, but he's been in business 25 years.
Mhm.
It's an $8 million business. It's great business. But up until a year ago, he started like running it to sell it.
Right. So I guess that's the reason why I asked the question. Like, even if you don't have, even if you have every intention of your kids taking over the business, what happens whenever they come of age and they're like, I don't want anything to do with the business. Okay. I want to do, you know, I want to perform for the circus. And
Yeah.
so it's like, all right, well, I'm at the age where I don't want to do it anymore either. So if you didn't
no matter
that
what
time,
no matter what, you got to be in double-digit profits, right? And
can you do that and scale 10x?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So here's one of those stupid KPIs that you always hear about, right?
Yeah.
What's the ratio that you guys have heard for every tech in the field? How many office people do you need?
Oh man, it's
like 3 to 1.
It ranges. I've heard
3 to 1. You're a champion at, right?
That's the one that I hear the most.
I've heard 8 to 1, but I mean, I've also heard that pigs could fly too. So
yeah. So my goal is to run it. There's a little island I hear that they swim. I don't know if they can fly, But my goal is this business right now, I'm going to have it running basically for every 10 employees, there's going to be one office person.
I think
That's where your
new age
profit.
I think with technology and stuff like that, this is becoming a little bit, that's helping make things simpler, easier. Obviously, you still have to have good operations, good processes along with that.
You have to have the processes and understand you don't have to pay attention to the old school KPIs.
That's a good point.
You really don't. I hear guys all the time. I won't say their names because I'm friends with a lot of people in the industries, and Keith, you got to do it this way. You got to do it that way. You got to do it this way. I'm like, okay, cool, because they don't want to hear it, and they have big, successful businesses, very big. But me personally, when I've been able to manage this past year, I'm blown away. And now I'm going to focus in on some other stuff that I'm working on. And so like I told you at the beginning of this, I hired a new general manager. He'll be starting next week. Took him from another large company. He's young, aggressive general manager, been around for a while. And when I laid out, we signed an NDA and I laid out kind of what I'm doing. He was like, you're going to piss off everybody in the industry, right? And I said, let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's go. Like, be a disruptor. So back to your question. Yes, you can keep double-digit profits and have that growth. So even if you have bad credit, especially right now, even if you have bad credit, you can go to Enterprise Fleet and get cars. You can go to your local Ford dealer. You're going to pay a higher interest rate. They're going to put you at like a level 2. They have levels, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 credit risk. You're going to pay a higher interest rate. But as long as that truck's producing money for you,
not sitting in the driveway.
Yeah, who cares? And so that's where, you're not always pulling money out of your pocket, but you will have a stress level, trust me. Mm-hmm. But as long as those and don't hold on to guys too long.
Yeah.
But for me, I've always tried to tell these guys that want to grow, find a good operator. That way you can focus on your business and growing the business.
That's what I was going to ask. So GM versus controller.
Yep.
What just title or
controller is more for accounting.
Okay.
General manager, I'm going to eliminate operations manager, service manager, install manager, and have a good general manager. And depending on what software we use, we'll be able to tell how everything's working. Mm-hmm. We have good lead guys out in the field that we're taking from some other companies. And I hate saying that, but it is what it is. I feel like I created a bunch of whores in the industry back in 2007 by putting these big sign-on bonuses way back then.
Yeah.
Everybody does it now. Those guys will bounce. I took it back way back when too. But I feel like if I just bring them into my office, and if you could see my office is like, it doesn't look like an HVAC. All my furniture's, as you can see, all white. My desks are white. Everything, we're doing a build out. We're starting today on our build out, and we're building out more offices. It's all going to be white. I want everybody to walk in and feel good, look good, and just have a different feel. It's a different age group that we're after. So we got to not necessarily flood them with money. They're the Phillies, right? They want to feel good. And so, you got to surround them with, that feel good. And trust me, for a while there, I was known as the hatchet because I was just like, hey, fire him. Fire that guy. But now I've evolved. I've started trying to change and trying to understand. I have my son works for me. He's 23 years old. Probably the best technician out there in the country. Not necessarily selling tech, but he's a techie.
Yeah.
Didn't learn it from me. Where he learned it from? YouTube, of all places.
Oh, yeah.
I told him, dude, you can learn the tech part. I'll teach you the sales part. So, but it's one of those things that even with him, I got to treat him different than the way my dad taught me, or my dad, trained me. My brother-in-law trained me. My brother-in-law would tell me, hey, pardon my French, I know I cuss a lot, but he'd tell me, dude, go fucking hang that gutter. What are you afraid of? It's 3 stories. Who cares? It's an 8-on-12 pitch. You don't need a harness. I'm like, what?
Right. I'm not gonna bounce off the ground.
Yeah, and I'd go do it,
Yeah.
and it was just different times. So we got to evolve.
So back to the controller versus GM question. I don't think I was clear in the question. I guess I was asking there. Because Gene on LinkedIn actually mentioned it too. Which, in your opinion, do we implement first? I guess obviously you have GM. Do you already have a controller, or will you bring on a controller? I know of some people who they brought on controller first and have grown steadily by doing that.
So I'm bringing on my GM first, for
Okay.
sure. I will be bringing on a controller. It's going to be a remote controller. That sounds funny, remote controller. My controller will be a guy by the name of Peter Dragone. You can look him up. He's the founder of Keurig.
Okay. Wow. So you're not shooting for the stars or anything.
No.
He's been begging me to join the team. So not begging, but keeps on bugging me. So I have, like I said, my network is very deep now, and I'm not just running around with the same typical guys. I've gotten out of my comfort zone and had a lot of big lunches with a lot of different people from outside our industry that didn't understand our industry whatsoever. And when I started talking about HVAC to these guys, they're going, who is this guy?
Right.
And then they started going, there's like Oliver. He's like, wait, hold on. There's a huge industry here and nobody's doing anything with it. And I'm like, nah, there's people doing it. He goes, no. They're buying companies and then stacking them and then reselling them and buying another company, stacking it, reselling it. I go, yeah. He goes, there's something bigger we can do here.
I mean, that's similar to the conversation that we had a few months back. We were at the AHR Expo and we spoke with Brandon Dawson. He's partner with Grant Cardone, and they're coming in and they're like, wow, like we see the same exact thing going on. And it's like, let's get a part of it. Like, let's make sure that this is done and make sure that people aren't getting screwed during the process at the same time.
I talked with Grant and his team 3 years ago. Enjoyed it. I liked it. Nothing. I love all his books, everything else. I love the outside the box thinking. The type of sales that they do is really kind of
in your face.
Yeah. Which is good. Sometimes you need that for
it
some
works.
customers.
It works at certain times.
Yeah. But what I like with the team that we're building right now is, they're all outside the box thinkers, and they're not trying to reinvent our industry. They just want to add something to the industry. So they love the input that I'm not afraid to put out there and get involved with different things. It's
sweet.
It's very different.
I'm excited when that time comes to talk about it for sure.
Yeah. It's very exciting. I got a guy on my team named Mark. This guy, he's an engineer and he invented some of the craziest stuff that you've ever seen in your life. One of them is, the license plate recognition, where the cops use, the toll roads use. That's my guy. He's my engineer.
Yeah, one of my technicians would love to thank him personally. I got in the mail about a week or two ago, a ticket for him speeding, and So the
guy that created that is here all the time in my office, and he is just like when you talk to him, you're just like, he was teaching me coding like a week ago, trying to, and I'm sitting there going, oh yeah. And it's just numbers all over the screen, and he's telling me how much stuff it's reading per second, and I'm sitting, yeah. And then finally, I was just like,
All right, dude.
He goes, "You got it?" And I'm like, "No,
Nah.
I have no,
Not at
I have
all.
n-
That's
I have
like
no-"
that's like Justin Riley. He's in the chat. He was in the chat earlier anyways. And he starts talking to me about some of these big data. I'm like,
Yeah.
I guess if you say so, because you're like way over my head on this stuff, man.
Well, one of the big things that I have a challenge with our industry is there's no outliers really. There's nobody that has. I mean, what's been big in our industry that's been a big change over the past, we'll call it 20 years. We've jumped up a seer or two.
Right. I mean,
Nest came out.
Seer 2's coming out.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, it's still behind. I mean, Josh and I've talked about this before. Our industry is several years behind other industries in technology wise.
Even all the technology that's come about is still way behind what they're doing with e-commerce sites and all these other things. Like we just don't have that level of understanding. Like that floor is so low. Like it raises the floor so everybody else's knowledge can get better.
Well,
But some people aren't even emailing their customer base. Like, let's get real, they're not even doing basic things just to keep in touch with their customers. Tersh.
Well, nobody's
No, I'm just kidding.
nobody's even touched on that, you know. And like one of my challenges is like so Mark, he in 1989 he created the first website for the Irvine, California, the city of Irvine. 1989, charged them I think $500,000. And guess what? Guess what? City of Newport said, "Hey, I want that." Guess what? The city of Costa Mesa, "I want that." City of LA, "I want that." So he ended up doing pretty much all of the United States, all the different city websites, and then the police needed something to integrate with it, the fire departments, you know, and so he did very well for himself way back when on those platforms. So when he sees our websites, he's like, "Guys, you can," and
You
it's
gotta
true
progress a
though.
little bit, man.
It's true though. We're all cookie cutter. We all do the same stuff. We all like. There's nothing like that just really breaks out to you. You know, you got guys like Leland Smith, guys killing it, dominating. Very, and it's the same stuff, right? Ken Goodrich, friend of mine, both of them, they dominate the market. Same stuff. Like nobody's like really been that. I keep on saying like one of those guys or like Gary Elix or one of those guys are just gonna just embarrass the hell out of us all one day, like with something that just was so simple that we
Yeah.
should have all been doing all along.
Well, that was my grand theme. That was my grand plan, which has not come to fruition with remote operations and being able to have a business completely remote. And I was thinking, if I can do this, prove it and do it in several different locations, completely remote, why couldn't I do it across the whole nation? And
Yes.
So far, it's work, but it's not as simple as I kind of thought it would be. But
Yeah,
that's
I
the way it goes
actually was
sometimes.
I was talking recently with a friend of mine. You guys might know him, Alan Crick, and we were talking about doing some stuff, and it was this, you know, having a bunch of remote locations and being able to do it, you know, off site, and we still have to have that people communication in between. There's like, I don't know how we get away from that, because you always have that one tech that wants to push the boundaries. And
Oh yeah, I've had those techs, and they've been
and
promoted to different locations. Not mine.
and one of those things, you know what, the one thing, like I keep on looking at softwares. For the past 2 months, I've dove into every software there is to try and figure out how I can run my business easier and so forth. And I've been on Service Titan since 2014. Love the platform. I just wanted to see what was out there before I jumped right into it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cool stuff out there. There's, you know, Sarah's really cool. Fixify is really cool. Field Pulse really stepped up recently and changed a ton of their software. And it's all those ones. You get what you pay for, of course. That's what they always tell you. But I mean, you're talking a quarter of the price.
Yeah, I mean, so It's funny you mentioned that term. You get what you pay for, because I dropped that one time, and the guy was like, that I was talking to about it. He was like, "Well, actually, you're cheaper than the guy that you're talking about." I was like, "Oh shit, damn it! I should have known that before I ever opened my mouth about that." I mean, there's times where I've paid more, assuming. Now, this is a pure assumption, and it's not on this particular topic, but I've paid more assuming that I would get more, and I assumed that it was, you get what you pay for, and like if I paid a whole lot more, then I would get an amazing service and amazing all this other stuff, and it wasn't. It was the same, maybe a little bit better, not worth the difference in the price, and it's tough not knowing that, like that, coming in like a small business owner, and you're trying to figure out what's going on. You don't know what you don't know until you know. So like, sometimes it's a costly mistake to do that. I paid for a coaching organization that put me into a contract, and it wasn't a bunch of money. It was a couple $100 a month, but it was a website 1.0. Like, it was old stuff, and it was everything that was there was on the internet already, and there was no actual coaching going on. You just had to self-learn, and he could track everything that you downloaded and stuff like that. And he was like such a weasel, and I was like, man, I'm not paying you for this. Like, I got into it, and I'm not paying you for this. And he was like, oh, you're on a 18-month contract or a 24-month contract or something like that. I was like, all right, I'm calling my lawyer. And like, I called him, but his contract was so like well written that and that was his whole thing, was write your terms and conditions so that you never give their money back. And I was like, that should have been the first red flag for me. Like, I should have seen that coming, that's exactly what he did. And that's what the lawyer said. And I was like, that blasted. Like, here I am paying a couple $100.
Well, here's one of the things that I best advice I can ever give guys is, if you're going to go hire a consultant, a sales trainer, a coach, whatever you want to call them, a team leader, whatever, make sure they owned or have owned or still own a HVAC and home service company.
True.
Plain and simple. All these fucking guys that are out there going, yeah, hire me, $20,000. I'll come out and I'll get up on stage and I'll cheer and run. Dude, you've never been in our boots, man. Come on.
I led a company for several years, and I thought I knew what it was to own a business until I owned a business. And it's like, there's a lot I didn't know. Like, and I felt like I knew a lot with that business because I did a lot, day-to-day operations wise. I was a shot caller. Like, people came to me for stuff, but even just the sheer stress of being the business owner, like, there are 15 families that rely on you every single week.
It's a different game. Plus, you have to have, my wife, Christine, she's this morning, get out of bed, she loves me to death, but she's like, hey, you need to have that partner that's always wanting to see you succeed and understand that this is not a 8 to 5 job. This is, hey, it's 24/7. Well, if you want to be a true entrepreneur, there is no times.
Yeah.
You just got to go after it. And my wife, pushes me on the daily to be better. When I'm feeling like, because when you're the boss and you're at the top, who are you going to go back to? Hey, there'll be days where I'm just like, what am I doing? And she's like, babe, she'll send me a text. You're doing great. Good job. Keep it up. And I'm like, oh, you have no idea what I'm going through. And she's like, no, I do. Like, look. So you have to have that too. And the other thing is, keeping your mind right. The physical fitness part of it is big to me. If you're not eating healthy and working out, like, I feel like I'm still 25 years old, I keep myself up, and
that's something I definitely picked up the COVID-15 I definitely slacked off on taking care of myself, and you can tell.
It's easy to do.
Yeah.
It's easy to slack
Yeah.
off on that. All it
It-
takes is
yeah.
1 or 2 days doing like traveling, and then all of a sudden you're out of your rhythm, and it takes you 3 weeks to get back in rhythm.
But you have to have that partner that
Good
pushes
point.
you to stay on that track. See, my wife keeps me there. She's like,
Mhm.
no matter what, she'll make me feel so bad. Like I'll say, hey, let's go get ice cream for the kids. And she like
Uh-huh.
looks at me. No, we can go get Pressed. And I'm like, Pressed is like some crap that looks like ice cream, but it's not. And my
Yeah.
kids love it because they don't know any different. And I'm like, oh man. But it's 100% right. It's what you put in, and then your mind feels better and so forth. So it's I don't know, man. If anybody can get anything out of this is, be willing to let go of all the. So I have a famous quote, my famous quote: "Get rid of your keys." Right? You go on all my stuff that it always says, "Get rid of your keys." And the reason what that means is, you ever go into that junk drawer, you get your keychain, and you have a million keys, you don't know what that key is. Or you go to the junk drawer, and it's like, what is that? It means just let go of some of it. You don't need it, so let it
Mhm.
go. So you'll have haters. I get haters all the time because the HVAC God moniker, they don't know it started off at 18 as a joke. I just
I've
let
had
it-
people
I
reach
let it
out to
go.
me and be like, "Man, that's kind of
It's bold.
Ballsy.
yeah," and it's like, yeah, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, if you knew him, like, it's not like that. It's more of obviously it was a joke to start off with, because the dude is the most down to earth guy out there. Like, he doesn't hold himself up on a pedestal at all.
It was a joke. It started off at, I think it was 19 maybe. A guy by the name of Ken Starr, he owns American Home Comfort here in Southern California, $25 million shop. Me and him kind of jumped ship, went into, I left my family business. He left his family business. We went into together. We were out in the parking lot. We just introduced ourselves, and on the back, I don't know if you guys remember, the bumper sticker said "Got Jesus." He had that on the back of his service van that he pulled into the parking lot, and I said, "Well, if you're Jesus, I'm God."
Oh yeah.
Couple weeks later, I had the HVAC God logo, license plate, and that was it. It stuck ever since, and it was like just me and him having banter.
Just bantering back and forth. Yeah. Dude,
And
Keith,
you
man,
wouldn't believe how many people flip me off going
because
down
of
the
that.
freeway.
Well, hey, don't
because
bring
of my
it to
license
the
plate.
don't bring it to the Bible Belt. Here. No, I'm just kidding. Oh man, we really appreciate the conversation. It's really been a conversation between me and you. I've kind of cut Josh off 1,000 times, not giving him any time to ask questions.
That's right. You're fanboying.
I mean, really, honestly, I loved every time that I get to interact with Keith. If anybody wants to reach out, learn more about you, follow you, where's the best place for that to happen?
Go on. My Instagram's it has all my contact information. I'm always on Instagram. Not always on. I usually try and post and then get off because you get sucked into that thing.
Oh yeah.
But Instagram or hvacgod.com, there's some information on there. They can reach out to me through there. My cell phone's on everything. I'm not hiding from anybody. So
Cool, man. Well, we appreciate it. Josh, did you have any other questions before I wrap up?
No, man, you covered everything.
My bad. All right, guys.
Josh is just trying to stay warm.
I am.
it's
I've got like
like
3 layers
snowing.
on down here. This is literally like the only thing in my basement right now because we're moving. So this is getting packed up like as soon as we're done.
You're going to go from minus weather to 120 something degrees.
And I'm moving in July.
Yeah.
Oh God. You
I'm
have to have
spending-
air conditioning in your garage there, right?
Yes, I've heard.
I lived out there for 3 months and my wife was like, "What are you doing? Get out of here."
That's funny. Yeah, I'm about to
was hot.
send Josh water, like as his moving package.
Yeah.
All right, guys. If y'all have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to Keith. I mean, he's a great dude and is always willing to help. But with that being said, I hope you have a wonderful and safe day until we talk again next time on Service Business Mastery Podcast. We'll see you.
I appreciate it, guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Service Business Mastery. Now that you are equipped with essential business advice from this impactful conversation, you are one step closer to becoming the successful owner of your dreams. If this episode has been helpful to your business journey, don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a rating, and share it with other owners as well. Visit servicebusinessmastery.com to learn more.